Good morning, everybody. I know that still there are some people trying to join us, but as we are already slightly beyond the original time frame, I would say let's start this Budapest Forum. Good morning, dear mayors, ambassadors, your excellencies, representatives of the EU institutions, distinguished guests, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen. Let me to warmly welcome all of you on behalf of the municipality of Budapest. I am Benedek Jávor, the head of the representation of the city of Budapest to the EU. And I'm happy to announce the fourth edition of this Budapest Forum. This is already a great success for us, taking into consideration the difficult circumstances among which our city, in cooperation with the CEU Democracy Institute and Political Capital, tries to maintain and carry on this important initiative of Budapest Forum. These difficulties are mostly political, but not uniquely. If you leave this room, this building, and walk just 200 meters towards the Danube River, you will understand what I'm talking about, and also you will see the magnitude of the challenge we have in Budapest, in Hungary. So let me also to say thank you for all the people working on the dikes and dams to protect our beloved city against the tragic flood which in the neighborhood in Austria, the Czech Republic, Slovakia, Poland and Romania is even more serious and has more tragic consequences. In these difficult times, we feel it even more important to create a safe space where experts, decision makers, politicians, NGO representatives, and people from the academia can share their views on issues affecting the CE region and beyond. This year's Budapest Forum is at least according to my understanding, as exciting, interesting, and strong as always. I hope you will conclude to this as well by tomorrow evening. Finally, I would like to say thank you to our partners, the CEU Democracy Institute, Political Capital as co-organizers, our strategic partners, the German Marshall Fund and the Heinrich Böll Stiftung, and our supporters, the National Endowment for Democracy, the Green European Foundation, the European Policy Center, the Friedrich Neumann Foundation, the Taipei Representation Office in Hungary, and last but not least, thank you for you all, our distinguished speakers, guests, and everyone who joins us today and tomorrow to enjoy the Budapest Forum. So thank you for coming, and I would pass the floor to Péter Krekó from Political Capital to give her opening remarks. Thank you very much.
Good morning for everyone, dear ladies and gentlemen. I'm delighted to welcome you all at the 4th Budapest Forum. And this conference is slowly becoming a tradition, and we are rather proud of that, I have to say. So this is the largest pro-democracy conference here in Budapest, and it's a pleasure to see many friends, familiar faces, but also new ones. On behalf of the Political Capital Institute, I extend my warm greetings to everyone in the audience, as well as the ambassadors, the members of diplomatic corps, the representatives of the European Parliament, of the Parliament, of mayors, but also I would like to thank for all of our speakers who made to come here against all the odds and in these difficult times. Bence have mentioned the floods already, so we would like to also thank for everyone who is actively working to keep challenges at bay at these difficult moments. This is an election, and also I would like to thank for our moderators, and this year our moderators will have a much more challenging task than previously, because we have decided to shorten the panels, which will put a huge burden on them, including myself in a later panel, but we did it to make the conference more dynamic in terms of pace, and also that we can squeeze in more topics than in previous years. So this is an election super year, and we are facing multifaceted challenges from electoral interference and authoritarian influence stronger than ever before. This is also a topic that we will discuss during the conference. With 3.7 billion voters across 72 countries, challenges are varied, some more significant than others, but what we can see in the most comparative surveys and ratings is that democracy in the world is not in the best shape at the moment. So according to Freedom House 2023 report, for example, in 2020, 57 countries saw a decrease in political rights and civil liberties, only 34 made improvements. There is a rise of authoritarian regimes, and some countries such as Russia and China are serving as models of the democratization. Larry Diamond calls it the democratic recession, but also we would like to talk a bit about the prospects of democratic growth. So this is a conference where we do not want to give all the words to doom and gloom, but also we would like to identify some best practices and good models of democratization, and our speakers will help you in that. We know that it's an old school approach in the era where so-called pragmatic foreign policy and connectivity are the main buzzwords, but we have invited speakers to this conference who share a common minimal understanding of democracy and some kind of democratic values, regardless of they are coming from democracies or not. I would like to express my gratitude to our co-organizing partners for their continued support and cooperation. First, I would like to thank Mayor Karácsony, Benedek Jávor, and Zsigmond Kendernai from the Municipality of Budapest. I would like to thank László Bruszt, Zsuzsa Szelényi from CEU Democracy Institute, and there were a lot of others who were working on making this conference together and to organize it the fourth time. And also a heartfelt thank you also goes to our supporting partner. Bence have mentioned them already. Sorry for being repetitive here. But what is important to mention is that they did not only support the conference with resources, but also with ideas on how to put together a good conference, and hopefully you will be satisfied with the results. So our strategic partners are Heinrich Böll Stiftung, the German Marshall Fund of the United States, where I also enjoy a fellowship at the moment. And also our other partners are the European Policy Center, Representation of Taipei in Budapest, National Endowment for Democracy, Friedrich Neumann Stiftung, and the Green European Foundation. So thank you. And last but not least, thank you for all of you for coming, and hope you will enjoy the conference. And I would like to pass over to the floor to Zsuzsa Szelényi from the CEU Democracy Institute. Thank you.
Well, now I see you. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Welcome at the CEU Democracy Institute, the home of the Central European University. I have recently participated at an international conference where I met a Chinese political scientist called Chan. We had great discussions about how the world is changing in these days, and I asked her about what should we think about the statement of Chinese Communist Party leader Xi Jinping when he stated that China is a democracy, it's just a different kind. Actually, Xi Jinping used the term that China is a whole process people's democracy. Chan explained me that with this statement, Xi Jinping answered to Western critics who regard China as an increasingly autocratic system, even a dictatorship. She told me that she also talked to his own people by reframing the term democracy as a different governance philosophy, By this idea, there is a Chinese governance model, which is not based on elections, but a complex system of consultative processes. By this model, elites and people are constantly discussed and questioned about their various policy issues, even in the smallest settlements, and top decisions are made on the basis of these processes. These processes, as they say, are soliciting people's concerns and are free from malign capitalist interests. Until the Chinese communist leadership is creating wealth and improving life, actually many Chinese people really think that this is democracy. This is a formidable idea, for sure. But we don't need to go to China to learn about a democracy of a different kind. Hungary's prime minister states that his country represents a higher form of democracy, which exercises good government and not the technocratic idea of good governance. Government politicians claim that being elected by the majority, they are enjoying a strong legitimacy of the people, and it is only the government who is really entitled to represent the common good and make decisions. They do not need to consult with non-elective entities and groups like unions, civil society organizations, or experts in order to make good decisions. Actually, they say, these organizations represent particular interests. Therefore, they disturb decision-making processes and not serve the public good. Well, we do not need to agree with these concepts and statements and ideas, but we definitely have to know that democracy is indeed an essentially contested concept. And we know this more than any other earlier times. So the question of what democracy means in a global context gave rise to highly exciting and relevant academic debate. There are at least 3 different battle areas. Firstly, the prevailing understanding of democracy did not develop in a political vacuum. The classical democracy theory was conceptualized in a Eurocentric hegemony. But the days of promoting liberal democracy and adapting to it are over by now. Many thinkers beyond the West do not accept this conceptual framework any longer. Second, democracy is not contested conceptually only in the academic debate. It is also coming under pressure in its liberal institutionalized form within political systems, as we can see it in Hungary, in our own country. The third battleground is understanding the political processes. In some countries, for example here or in Poland, as we saw in the last few years, the ruling elites are the ones who are attempting to autocratize themselves, while in many more stable or consolidated democracies in Western Europe, this is the population which is increasingly disillusioned with the usual offerings of democracy. So these are all fascinating but somewhat disturbing realities. In order to be able to preserve liberal democracy, which we regard as the highest form of people's life quality and freedom, we really have to go beyond our current understanding of what democracy means. This calls for a global approach, understanding deeply our own societies. Academia has an important role to collect the total texture of democracy, which is somewhat the core, and where with this term we could mean more or less the same thing all over the world. This is exactly what the CEU Democracy Institute is doing. In this campus, which was completely abandoned 5 years ago, today is full of life. We are pursuing cutting-edge research in cooperation with colleagues from 5 continents to understand burning regional and global issues related to democracy. We aim to understand better how our societies are changing during the grand transformation, which is full of fortuna, as was described by Machiavelli 500 years ago. CEU Budapest is a laboratory for basic and policy-oriented research, advocacy, and training focused on challenges by the great transformation of the 21st century. The CEU Democracy Institute, together with the Open Society Archive and the Institute for Advanced Studies, is hosting in this campus a whole range of public and academic programs. It offers intellectual home for many academics who had to leave their countries. It creates new connections and builds networks between the Hungarian public and the global faculty of the Central European University. This campus is a meeting place, an art forum, home of debates and creative workshops. We are a living laboratory of learning, sharing, experimenting, innovating, and yes, resisting the most dramatic backsliding of liberal democracy in the heart of Europe. The Budapest Forum, which we organize third or maybe fourth time, seems like other illuminating conferences, but it is not. The cooperating partners, the City of Budapest, the Political Capital Institute, and the CEU Democracy Institute are in the very center of de-democratization by our own government. But we do not give up. We have a strong conviction that liberal democracy is indeed the best form of social order. Therefore, we are questioning, debating, thinking, and testing ourselves, as well as our rivals and partners, with trial and error, believing that we will be able to shape a better future. So, with these words, I really welcome you here at the next Budapest Forum, and I wish you all to participate intensively with these fascinating debates which we are focusing in the next 2 days. Please participate and be active with us and share your ideas.